Hello everyone, welcome back to my kitchen, and today I am making apple pectin out of apples, fresh apples. I got these at my local farmer's co-op, and these are technically what would be considered deer apples, they're really hard, really tough. Ugh. And that's okay. We're not trying to make apple pies. We're not trying to make apple tarts. We're making apple pectin and applesauce and apple juice. So I just slice them all up, and I start out by filling this pot half full of water and adding a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then in this pot I put all of the stuff I cut off the core. In this I put all of the cores. We're going to be boiling everything, but we don't want to have to pick cores and seeds out of what will be our applesauce and such. So I just cut them and boil them separately. It works easier. Alright, I'm just going to keep slicing these and get these filled up. This is half full with a 1/4 cup. This is half full with a 1/4 cup. And we're just going to cut them up and fill them up. And there's 15 pounds of apples. 15 pounds of apples will get this completely filled up. And the cores will be able to fill this about 3/4 full. And then we'll get lots and lots of fun stuff out of it. We'll be back when all this is done. In here is all the flesh and skin of 15 pounds of apples. And then I filled it up with about 12 quarts of water. And then there's a 1/4 cup of lemon juice in there. It helps the apples from turning brown. Then we're going to put this on the stove and we're going to turn it on medium. And let it start coming up to a nice boil until all of these soften up. If you turn it on high, right at this stage when they're still fresh, it's going to boil over and foam over and make a giant mess. So you want to put it on medium and let it slowly boil until they get softer, and then you can turn it up higher. And then in this one, I have all the cores and all the scrap. And I have 8 quarts of water because it'll boil down to about 6 quarts. And after everything is boiled, we'll strain it all. And then we'll get to work. We'll be back. Okay, I've been boiling on medium for about 45 minutes. And they're not done. When you push in to stir, if you feel any hard apple whatsoever, it's not done. You should be able to push into it and everything just crumble apart and come apart. So we're going to keep going. It's going to boil for a good hour, hour and a half. So we're going to keep letting it go. We'll be back. There it is. We've been boiling for an hour and a half. And as you can see, they've become like translucent and see-through. And as you stir, they're just soft and squishy and mushy, and they're perfect. So we're going to turn it off and let it sit for an hour. And then they'll all sink to the bottom, and you'll have gorgeous, beautiful, golden apple juice on top. We'll be back. Now that it's boiled and set for an hour, as you can see, all the apples have sunk to the bottom. Now we're going to take this beautiful juice and these beautiful apples, and we're going to strain them and separate them using our jelly bag. And this is going to take a really long time, so I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch this. So I'm going to pause, and I'll be back after I've strained all of this, which will take about another hour. We'll be back. Here is our apple cores boiling. They are very far from done. They're still really hard. They're not coming apart. You should be able to press it against the side and your spoon just make it crumble to pieces. So this has got quite a ways to go. And also, it'll be completely transparent all the way through the core. We're going to let this keep boiling, and we'll be back. Alright, the cores have been boiling for an hour and a half. As you can see, they're pretty much, as you cannot see. They're pretty much transparent, but what you can see is how squishy they are. See? They literally just crumble apart. There, perfect. Alright, we're going to turn this off and let this cool. And then we'll strain it. We'll be back. In here we have the beautiful golden apple juice from the core. And in here is a beautiful pink hued golden color juice from the rest of the meat and the skins. They have different colors to them because this had skins, this didn't. We're going to mix both of them together into a big pot and let it sit and settle for about an hour because we want all the pectin and all that thick leftover meat. It's a nice thick film. That's what your pectin will be in the bottom of your jars. It'll settle to the bottom of your pan, and that's what we want. So we're going to pour these together, and we'll be back. We have approximately 15 quarts of juice between the two of them. And like I said, we're going to let it settle for about an hour, and then we'll come back and we will scoop most of the juice off of the top and then make apple juice out of it. And then the little bit that's left at the bottom, about 3 or 4 quarts left at the bottom, we'll put that into a crock pot and cook it down to make sure we have our pectin. We'll be back to show you what to do with the meat from the apples. We're going to take all the meat and all the skins and we're going to put them through our blender, put them into a crock pot with a few spices and some sugar and make applesauce for our kids. We'll be back. One of the tricks I like to do when I am getting ready to blend and puree all my apple meat is to put the sugar halfway up with the meat. Then, depending upon whether or not you like cinnamon, I add half a tablespoon of cinnamon, cup and a half of sugar, half a tablespoon of cinnamon, and as my father always said, if you're gonna have sweet, you always gotta add just a little bit of salt. So I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of applewood smoked sea salt. And then of course, this is one of my tricks. I add half a capful of almond extract. And that's going to be for all 15 pounds of apples that have boiled down and become mush. And I finish filling it up. And then I blend it, stick it in the crock pot, and blend more. We'll be back when I've got all this blended up and in the crock pot. We'll be back. Right, now that we've blended and pureed our applesauce and skins up really well, and the reason I use the skins and everything and I don't peel them is because there's so much nutrition and vitamins and minerals in that skin. Alright. It's all in the crock pot. All the spices, herbs, sugar. Now, we're going to plug it in and cook it on high for about 2 or 3 hours until more of the water has cooked out and the flavors have mixed up so wonderfully. We'll be back. Now that all my juice settled for an hour, in here I have 8 quarts of the juice that I carefully pulled out without trying to cause too much mixing in here, because we want the settled stuff on the bottom as much as possible for the pectin. So in here is 8 quarts, and then I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar, because this is going to be juice. I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar, mix it up, put it on my stove, and just heat it through. So we'll heat it on medium-high for about a half an hour to 45 minutes, just to bring it up to a nice warm temperature and to make sure all that sugar is nice and mixed in and not settling on the bottom. Then we'll pull it off and put it into our jars and get ready to process it in our pressure canner. We're going to put this on the stove and we'll be back. Here is the other bottom third of our apple juice that settled and that we have from all those boiled apples. So we're going to stir it up and make sure that we get all the pectin that has settled at the bottom. And then we're just going to pour it into a big crock pot. Turn it on high and let that cook down for about 12 hours. And as it cooks down, it'll get this nice little skin on the top of it. And more than half of it will cook away and evaporate. And it'll be like this really thick gel. And that is your pectin. And I'll show you what to do with it when it gets to that point. We'll be back. Hello. Alright. So our applesauce has cooked down for about an hour and a half. And it's nice and thick now. In the oven, I baked my jars at 250 degrees for 20 minutes. Then, I'm just going to load them up. I got different assorted sizes here because some are for baking. These bigger ones I'll use for baking. And the smaller ones, my kids will use for individual snacks. Instead of those little... buying those little applesauce things, I just make them for them myself. Then I know everything that's going in it. Alright, we're going to get these all filled up. And then we'll be back. Alright, we got 6 little kids jars and 2 big jars for baking. In here, I have apple cider vinegar and very warm water. And then I've tamped them down and debubbled them as best as possible. Then I'm just going to wipe off the rims, lid, ring, and I'm going to do that to each and every jar. And then we'll put them in our water bath canner to process. We'll be back. Alright, my juice cooked on the stove slowly for an hour and got nice and warm. And now we're going to just put it in clean and sterile jars. Now, you can water bath can your juice, but I pressure can my juice for 20 minutes just to make sure there's no problems. So we're going to fill these up, put lids on them, and get them ready for the pressure canner. We'll be back. I got 9 quarts of juice, but my canner will only do 7 quarts at a time. You may have a bigger canner than I do, and it may do more, but mine only does 7 quarts. So I'm going to take 2 of these quarts and set them off to the side. I'm going to make apple jelly. As for these 7 quarts, we're going to clean the lids, rims. Oh, those are hot. Put lids on them and get them ready for the pressure canner. We'll be back. There we go. Our jars of applesauce are in the water. We're going to turn it on high, bring it up to a boil, and process it for 25 minutes. We'll be back. That is what processing looks like, and we're going to process it for 25 minutes. We'll be back. Alright, it's been processing for 25 minutes, so we're going to turn it off and open it up and let it cool down and come to room temperature for about 5 minutes. Alright, it's been 5 minutes. We're going to pull these out of the water and let them sit. And in about an hour, all of them will have popped. Oop. And closed up and sealed tight. And the rings will have loosened up. And then we can label them and have them ready to go. Oop. I love that sound. That gorgeous applesauce for your kids. Beautiful dark coloring. Your children will absolutely love this. Now I have another 12-ounce jar that I have not processed and will not process because it's in my fridge. I'll be baking bread in the morning. So this is going to be on my shelves. So we have 7 jars here and another jar in the fridge. That's 8 jars of applesauce out of 15 pounds of apples. And 2 of these jars are the big 12-ounce jars. So actually, it's more like 9 little jars. Alright, we'll be back. 7 jars, they have sat and cooled, and as you can tell, the lids just spin right off now. We've got 7 of them here and 1 in my fridge, so we got a total of 8 jars of applesauce so far. Alright. Now we're going to process our apple juice. And we'll be back to see how many jars of apple products we end up with. We'll be back. Here we have our 7 cans of juice. You can process these in a water bath canner for 25 minutes, but I always over-process everything. So I'm processing these in my pressure canner for 15 minutes. Turn on my pressure canner and let it come up to temperature and start steaming. Okay, it's been on full steam. Ow, that's hot. I don't know if I can see how it's pushing high steam out. That's full steam. And we let it sit for 10 minutes. And then we'll put our weight on top and wait for it to come up to pressure. Alright, it's been at full steam for 10 minutes. So we're just going to take and pop our weight on there. We're going to wait till this comes up to a steady jiggle. And when that comes up to a steady jiggle, it's processing. And then we will process these for 15 minutes. That is processing. See that nice whoop, little rattle that's going on? That's processing. We're going to let it process for 15 minutes and we'll be back. We've been processing for 15 minutes. We're going to turn it off. Let it cool down on its own completely. We're not going to mess with it. We're not going to jiggle it. We're not going to force it to cool down in any way. We're just going to set it and forget it. This button here will pop down. That one there will fall down when it's done and it's ready for you to remove the lid. We'll be back. That button. That one. Our thing has popped down. Our thing has stopped jiggling. And when you move it, no air comes out. So we're going to open up the canner away from ourselves. All my jars just popped. Now we're going to let them sit and cool for a good hour. Then we'll remove the lids. And we'll be back. See that bubbling? Not all of them are bubbling. But some of them are, and as long as some of them are, that lets you know you brought it up to temperature and got it to where it needs to be. And this is just apple juice anyways, so it really doesn't need to be pressure canned, but as I said, I overdo everything. See the boiling? Alright, we'll be back when these have cooled down and I can remove the lids. Hello! Alright, here I have 2 quarts of apple juice. This is the apple juice I just made out of that 15 pounds of apple. Now I know 2 quarts is 8 cups, but it's okay. It will work for apple juice. Then we're going to add sugar. My family is a low sugar family, so I'm only going to add 2.5 cups of sugar. 1 cup. 2 cups. 2.5. You can add 4 cups, 6 cups, whatever you want. But my family is a low sugar family. So 2.5 cups works more than okay. Mix it all up. Now we don't need to add any pectin because of course this is apple juice that has pectin in it. The apple juice hasn't been processed and sent through the canner, so it's still that nice golden color rather than this color that has gone through the canner, which is like a pink. Then we're going to add a drop of lemon juice. About 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Turn it on medium-high and bring it up to a boil and start the boiling process. And we're going to make it into jelly. My jelly has been boiling nicely for 30 minutes. And we're just going to keep letting it boil because it's got a ways to go before it comes down to jelly. Now, the sides of it will have this big jellied coating on the edge. Make sure you get it all stirred up good every time you stir. And you want to stir at least every 30 seconds to a minute. for the most part, you don't want to walk away. Alright, I'm just going to keep letting this boil, and we'll be back. This is apple jelly perfection. You see that foamy? It does that right when it's perfect. See how it liquid comes off quickly and still drips off quickly, but you see how that's the sheeting and the foaming. That's your biggest sign that you're at jelly stage, is the foaming. Now sometimes when you stir, it'll foam up, but it's the foaming up without the stirring or without any intervention that lets you know. So then we're just going to turn it off, let it cool down, and put it in our jars. See that slow drip? That is sheeting. See how see how now it's actually becoming a big, you see that? That is perfect jelly. And we'll let it be for a couple of minutes and put it in our jars. We'll be back. Alright, here I have a pint jar, and here I have a 12-ounce jar. Probably won't need that, but I baked that just in case. I baked them in an oven on 250 degrees for 15 minutes. Now, this has cooled for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to pour it in our pint jar. Ooh, I do need the 12-ounce. Alright, I'm going to process these in a water bath canner for 25 minutes. Alright, I've cleaned and wiped my rims same way I did with the other jars. We get our lids on here, get it all ready and into our canner. Our 2 jars of apple jelly in our water bath canner. You turn it on, bring it up to a boil, and process it for 25 minutes. Alright, our apple jelly has been processing for 25 minutes, so we're going to turn it off and remove the lid and let it sit for 5 minutes to come down temperature a little bit, and then we'll take it out, set it aside, and let it cool. Alright, it's been 5 minutes, and we're going to move our apple jelly from our water bath canner. Look at that gorgeous golden color. And onto our counter to let it cool. Now, of course, it's going to be liquidy, but it'll set up nicely. Alright. Get near the end of our day and near the end of our 15 pounds of apple product. All we've got left to do is our apple pectin. Alright, it's been a half an hour. It's still rather warm, but you can still touch it. And as you can see, it has started, well, maybe you can't see. It has started to set. Can you see on this one? Yeah, you can see how it has started to set. It's going to be beautiful when it's done. We're going to keep letting this cool, and I'm going to finish getting this pectin together. There we have it. Our pectin has cooked down on low for 8 hours. As you can see, there's a skin and a film on it. And we want that. All of that is our pectin. So we're going to make sure we go around the edges and get any leftovers. And it'll also leave a big thick skin on the top of it. So we want to make sure we get it stirred and mixed really good to get that evenly distributed. Then we just dish it up into 8-ounce jars. And one 8-ounce jar will work for one batch of jams or jellies. Now, I've sterilized and baked my jars at 250 degrees for 20 minutes. Now I'm just gonna fill them up. I don't think I have enough jars. I'll have to do more jars. Alright, I'm going to finish filling these up and get more jars. Now that we've got all 9 jars with our lids and rings, we're going to put them in our canner and process these in a water bath canner for 25 minutes. Generally, I would pressure can them, but I'm using my pressure canner. We'll be back. There we have it. Our jars are in the canner and we're going to start processing them. I have a couple other jars of stuff in there that I've got going, so I'm going to actually have to run 2 rounds of the water bath canner, but that's okay. You only have to process the pectin in a water bath canner for 20 minutes, but I over process everything, so generally I process in a pressure canner for 10 minutes. However, my pressure canner's in the middle of being used right now, so we got the water bath canner going. Alright, we're going to let this go, and we're going to process for 25 minutes. Hello everyone! Alright, it is the next day, and we have everything laid out here that we got from our 15 pounds of apples. Let me pull you back a little bit, so you can see a little bit more of what we got. Alright, out of our 15 pounds of apples, I got 7 quarts of apple juice. Now, I would have gotten 9, but I can only fit 7 in my canner at a time. So we churned 2 of the apple juices into apple jelly. Look how beautiful that is. Nice and set. Beautiful golden color. Oh, that's going to be wonderful on sandwiches. Then I had ended up with 9 jars, but unfortunately one of my jars had a crack in it. And I didn't know it till after it went through the canner. That happens. So I would have had 9 jars, but I walked away with 8. 8 jars of pectin, 7 jars of apple juice, 2 jars of apple jelly, and then of course, my family's favorite, all the applesauce. These little ones here make perfect little individual jars for your kids for snack time. And then my big tall ones here, I use for baking. So out of 15 pounds of apples, I got 20 some jars of product. You can do this with any of those 5-pound bags of apples that you buy in the store. But I can tell you, and I can guarantee you, that a lot of times those $4 bags of apples, those apples have been sitting in storage for upwards of a year or 2 before they even start putting them on the shelf to sell. So the apple pectin you're going to get is not going to be as well. It's not going to work as well. The apple juice will not be as thick. And the applesauce just won't taste quite as fresh. Because like I said, a lot of the apples that you buy in those big 5-pound cheap bags are not fresh apples. These were apples that came from a local food co-op from apple trees that grew right here in the area and apples that were picked just this fall. So all the product I have here was made out of essentially fresh apples. Thanks for coming along with me on this adventure and learning all the fun different things you can make out of your apples. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share. It really helps us out and helps spread the channel and helps me teach others how to do different things. Thanks for coming along, and remember everyone, stay positive. Bye. See you next time.